The Pentagon has released another batch of UAP files, that is, unidentified anomalous phenomenon.
The Pentagon's newest UFO files, for all the excitement surrounding them, contain no confirmed evidence of alien technology or beings. This is the single most important finding, and it comes straight from the government's own documents. Across every official review, the Pentagon's dedicated investigative office has stated plainly that it has found no empirical evidence that any sighting represents technology from beyond Earth. Officials releasing the files were careful to say the same thing, explicitly declining to interpret the material so that the public could make up their own minds, while stressing that nothing in it confirms extraterrestrial contact. That does not mean the files are boring. They are filled with genuinely strange encounters, unexplained objects, and cases nobody can account for. But the honest headline is this: the mystery in these documents lies in what remains unresolved, not in any hidden proof of visitors from other worlds. Donald Trump set the current wave of UFO disclosures in motion with a direct presidential order. In February 2026, he announced that he had directed the Pentagon and other federal agencies to identify and release government files relating to unidentified flying objects and possible extraterrestrial life. The result was a program with the fitting acronym PURSUE. And on May 8, 2026, the first batch of never-before-seen files appeared on a public government website, with no security clearance required to view them. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth framed the effort as delivering maximum transparency, saying these files had long fueled justified speculation and that Americans deserve to see the material for themselves. More tranches have followed every few weeks. The scale is remarkable, potentially spanning tens of millions of records across dozens of agencies, many of which exist only on paper and must be reviewed by hand. Apollo astronauts reported genuinely puzzling sights during their missions to the moon, and their accounts are among the most captivating material in the release. The files include NASA transcripts and photographs from the Apollo era that had never been presented this way before. In one, the astronaut Buzz Aldrin describes observing what appeared to be a fairly bright light source in space, which the crew tentatively guessed might be a laser. Another Apollo photograph shows three unexplained lights visible above the lunar terrain, highlighted by the government in its own caption. Other astronauts described flashes of light sailing off into space and rotating bright particles. These are, of course, the words of highly trained observers, which is exactly what makes them so intriguing. No conclusions are drawn, and the government has offered no alien explanation for any of them. Most UFO sightings, when properly investigated, turn out to have perfectly ordinary explanations, and the Pentagon's own numbers prove it. Of the cases the government has actually managed to resolve, roughly 70% were simply balloons drifting through the sky. Another sizable chunk turned out to be drones or other unmanned aircraft, while birds, satellites, and conventional airplanes accounted for most of the rest. The investigators also point to a fascinating human factor. Many reports come from people encountering genuinely unfamiliar but entirely earthly technology, especially in an era of rapid advances in aviation. And modern infrared cameras can play tricks, making hot jet engines appear as odd pill-shaped blobs. Historic sightings were similarly resolved, with the famous Roswell incident traced back to a secret high-altitude balloon program. The sky, it seems, is full of mundane things that look extraordinary. The Pentagon is currently working through a caseload of more than 2,000 reported sightings, a number that keeps climbing. A spokesperson confirmed in February 2026 that its investigative office had been examining over 2,000 cases, up substantially from earlier counts. Here is the crucial nuance that often gets lost. Around 1,000 of those reports lack sufficient data to analyze at all and simply sit in an active archive, ready to be reopened should better information ever surface. This is the key point about the word unresolved. In the vast majority of cases, it does not mean investigators confirmed something impossible. It means there was not enough evidence to reach any conclusion, often just a fleeting blur on a distant sensor. The government itself has acknowledged this openly, even inviting outside experts to examine the material and take a crack at explaining it. One of the most talked about documents in the recent release describes a genuinely bizarre encounter involving glowing orbs. In a report dated June 2026, the director of the Pentagon's UFO office detailed an incident from October 2023 in which 6 federal law enforcement agents, working in pairs, watched something extraordinary unfold over 2 days in the western United States. They described a large, luminous orange object, which observers nicknamed a mother orb, that appeared to release smaller red orbs one after another, with one of them hovering motionless above a ridgeline for several hours. Investigators managed to match roughly 60% of the activity to ordinary military flares by checking flight logs and radar. The remaining 40%, they wrote, could not be readily explained, but they were careful to stress this rested purely on witness testimony, unsupported by any technical or physical evidence.
One must always be concerned about adversarial disinformation when you're getting foreign intelligence, but I was able to cross-verify this information internally to back up the foreign government assertions.
David Grush is the man whose explosive allegations transformed the UFO conversation, yet his claims remain entirely unverified. A former Air Force officer and intelligence official, Grush testified before Congress in 2023 that the United States had been running a secret, decades-long program to recover and reverse engineer craft of non-human origin. He said this was based on interviews with dozens of witnesses over 4 years, though he acknowledged he had not personally seen any such craft himself. His testimony electrified the public and prompted serious calls for investigation. The Pentagon, however, has consistently and firmly rejected his account, stating it has discovered no verifiable information to substantiate claims of any program possessing or reverse engineering extraterrestrial material. No physical evidence has ever been produced to support the allegations. As it stands, they are extraordinary claims, made by a credentialed man with nothing tangible to back them up. The Pentagon's investigators went looking for the secret alien reverse engineering programs and concluded they simply do not exist. In an exhaustive review of every government UFO effort since the 1940s, drawing on interviews and classified archives, the office reached a striking conclusion. It found that people making these claims had, in good faith, mistaken genuine but highly secret government programs for alien technology projects. They found the claims were largely the product of what they called circular reporting, a small group of believers repeating the same story to one another until it seemed confirmed. They did uncover one proposed program intended to study recovered craft, but it was never approved, and crucially, no such craft ever existed to study. A metal sample presented as alien turned out, upon testing, to be an ordinary, entirely earthly alloy. The most substantive concern in this whole story is not aliens, but paperwork the Pentagon has failed to deliver. 2 important documents that its UFO office is required to produce remain outstanding: a promised second volume of its historical review and its annual report covering 2025. Both are overdue, and as of mid-2026, neither has appeared. When journalists pressed the Pentagon on why the office had not published an unclassified report or briefed the press in over a year, a spokesperson replied simply that there was nothing to announce at this time. Transparency advocates have also pointed out that a senior deputy position within the office has sat vacant. Congress, for its part, continues to apply pressure and expects a forthcoming report. For those seeking real answers, the accountability gap, rather than any alien cover-up, is the genuine story here.
That it was an astronomical calculating machine that calculated the positions of the astronomical bodies. So,
in 1901, divers exploring an ancient shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera pulled up a corroded lump of bronze, and for decades nobody understood it. Then researchers looked close and found more than 30 interlocking gears, hand-cut with astonishing precision. The device could track the sun, the moon, and the 5 planets the Greeks knew, and it predicted eclipses on a 223-month cycle. It was built more than 2,000 years ago, and a 2021 reconstruction by University College London confirmed it was a working model of the cosmos. Nothing this complex appears again in the historical record for roughly 1,400 years. Some people look at that gap and quietly wonder where the knowledge came from. The likely answer is human genius lost to time, but it remains one of the strangest objects ever found. Could it have been of alien origin?
So on March 13th, 1997, thousands reported seeing a V-shaped light formation in the sky.
Thousands of people across Arizona watched a formation of silent lights drift over Phoenix. Then a row of glowing orbs hung in the sky and faded out one by one. Officials offered two explanations. An amateur astronomer named Mitch Stanley watched the first formation through a 10-inch telescope and saw an ordinary aircraft. The second event was traced to 8 A-10 aircraft from the Maryland Air National Guard, releasing illumination flares over a distant range, slowly hidden behind a mountain ridge. Case closed, officially. Yet, here's a detail people remember. Arizona's governor, Fife Symington, publicly mocked these sightings back in 1997. Then, 10 years later, he reversed his stance completely, saying it was larger than anything he had ever seen and that it remained a great mystery. Interesting how Fife, who was a trained pilot and a former Air Force officer, changed his stance on this. For most of the modern era, the United States government treated the subject of UFOs as nothing too serious, but that changed on December 16th, 2017, when the New York Times revealed a quiet Pentagon program that had been studying unexplained aerial objects. It came with real footage recorded by Navy pilots, and in 2021, an official government assessment reviewed 144 incidents and could confidently identify only one of them. The government later built an entire office to investigate these reports. Its 2024 review found no proof of off-world technology, but it also admitted that a large share of cases simply cannot be explained with the data available. The most famous involved a smooth wingless object that the pilots called the Tic Tac, which appeared to move in ways that no other aircraft can. Officials still list it as unresolved because they have no explanation. On October 19th, 2017, a telescope in Hawaii spotted something that had never been seen before. It was an object from outside of our solar system, the first that ever has been confirmed, and astronomers named it Oumuamua. It behaved very oddly. It was strangely elongated. It tumbled. And as it sped up from the sun, it gently accelerated, as if it were pushing it. Yet it showed no tail and no gas the way that a comet would. Most scientists believe it was a natural fragment of rock or ice with an unusual shape. But one respected Harvard astronomer, Avi Loeb, raised a possibility that made headlines worldwide. He suggested it might not be natural at all. And he proposed it could be a thin artificial sail maybe drifting through our neighborhood that was only noticed on its way out. We may never know because it's already gone. On August 15th, 1977, a telescope in Ohio called Big Bear was scanning the skies for signals from space. That night, it recorded a sharp, narrow burst of energy lasting 72 seconds, far stronger than the background around it. The astronomer reviewing the data, Jerry Eman, was so struck by this that he circled the printout and wrote a single word beside it, "Wow." And this became known as the wow signal. The signal arrived close to a frequency that researchers had long predicted that an intelligent source might use, and then it was gone. It has never been detected again despite decades of searching that exact patch of sky. And scientists have proposed natural explanations, and recent works point towards a rare cosmic event, perhaps. Still, after 5 decades, the wow signal sits in the records as the most tantalizing thing we have ever picked up from the stars. Evidence indicates that aliens could be among us already, and that they're watching us and they're waiting. Back in 1950, physicist Enrico Fermi asked a simple question over lunch. If the universe is so vast and so old, where is everybody? The galaxy holds hundreds of billions of stars, and many now appear to have their own planets orbiting them. So the silence is strange. One idea that was proposed in 1973 suggests that advanced civilizations may already know that we're here and that they're choosing to observe quietly, kind of like the same way where a human can go out and use binoculars or telescopes to observe wildlife. Another idea that exists suggests that anything that's truly advanced from alien sources would be so far beyond anything that we could comprehend currently that we wouldn't even recognize it, even though it would be among us or they would be among us. And consider this. Our most ambitious listening project has closely studied only a few thousand stars out of the hundreds of billions of them. We have searched literally less than 1% of the known universe. So the real question may not be whether aliens are out there, but rather if they were out there or, in fact, among us, would we even have the capabilities to perceive them? It's simply like trying to describe a person to somebody who was born blind. The blind person has no reference of anything that you may be saying and doesn't even have the mechanism to see. This leads to so many wild theories. If aliens are among us, are they shapeshifters looking like humans so that we can't recognize them on the surface? Or we may be looking at them but simply just can't see them. Kind of like there's all these different vibrations and signals going around us, like Wi-Fi signals and cell phone signals, and we literally just cannot see them. Also, they may not even be human size. What if they're smaller than the size of a germ? Whatever theory you subscribe to, there's no doubt that there has been an astronomically larger amount of people that 100% believe that we are extremely close to open contact, and that the truth about alien life is going to be revealed in our lifetime.
Starts off this episode with the WOW signal. In August 1977, an intriguing signal was detected by an Ohio State University radio telescope near the constellation Sagittarius. Lasting for 37 seconds, the signal fell within a radio frequency range that is prohibited for terrestrial transmissions. Additionally, its narrow frequency range differed from typical natural sources of radiation in outer space. Given the distance to the nearest star in that direction, which is 220 million light years away, the signal's origin would require either a significant astronomical event or the presence of highly advanced extraterrestrial beings using a powerful transmitter. But to this day, the source of the signal remains completely unexplained. Now, the next piece of evidence at the number 9 spot is the radio signal back in 2003 up until 2004. So let me explain. In February of 2003, astronomers from the SETI project re-examined 200 sections of the sky using a large telescope in Puerto Rico. Now, they discovered that all previously unexplained radio signals had disappeared except for one, which had become stronger over time. And this signal, located between the constellations Pisces and Aries, where no obvious stars or planets exist, is considered a top candidate for alien contact. Interestingly, the signal is detected at a frequency commonly associated with hydrogen, which is the most abundant element. Moving on to number 8, we have the fact that there are other habitable planets. There is growing understanding of numerous planets that could potentially support life. Through spectroscopy, the technique that involves analyzing the atmosphere of exoplanets by observing how starlight passes through it, we are able to identify the chemical composition. If we detect substances similar to those found in Earth's atmosphere, it doesn't conclusively prove that existence of life happens elsewhere, but it strongly suggests the possibility. Professor Tim O'Brien explained that there are already hundreds of potential habitable planets that are known to us today. Coming down to number 7, we have Viking Mars landers. Back in 1976, the Viking Mars landers conducted tests on Martian soil samples that initially indicated the presence of chemical signatures associated with life. Now, one experiment involved combing the soil with nutrients labeled with radioactive carbon and observing the production of radioactive methane gas. The tests yielded a positive result, suggesting that some components in the soil was metabolizing the nutrients and generating radioactive gas. However, other experiments conducted on board the landers failed to find any further evidence of life, leading NASA to conclude that the initial result was a false positive. The piece of evidence at number 6 is Proxima Centauri. The discovery of a mysterious radio signal at 980 megahertz originating from Proxima Centauri, the closest star to our own, has sparked interest among researchers. Proxima Centauri is home to a gas giant and a rocky planet slightly larger than our planet Earth, positioned within the star's habitable zone. Now, the signal exhibited a slight shift during observation, resembling the movement caused by a planet. While scientists are intrigued by the possibility of an alien origin, they remain very skeptical and acknowledge the need to investigate it more because other sources like comets, hydrogen clouds, or human technology even could be responsible for mimicking an extraterrestrial signal. Number 5 takes us to Oumuamua. Back in 2018, astronomers made a fascinating discovery of a cigar-shaped object named Oumuamua, which was moving through the solar system. Initially believed to be an interstellar comet, its behavior puzzled scientists. Oumuamua seemed to be accelerating, suggesting the presence of an extraterrestrial force propelling it. Avi Lieb, who is an astrophysicist from Harvard University, put forward the idea that Oumuamua could be an alien probe propelled by a light sail, a thin material that accelerates when pushed by solar radiation. However, other scientists have challenged this hypothesis, suggesting that hydrogen ice melting off the object could explain the acceleration. And in response to this, Avi Lieb argued that hydrogen ice would have likely sublimated before reaching our system. Continuing now to number 4, we have the 1996 Martian fossils. In the year 1996, NASA scientists made an announcement regarding the discovery of potential fossilized microbes in a Martian meteorite. Now, the rock, believed to have been ejected from Mars and subsequently traveled through space for millions of years, which was found in Antarctica back in the year 1984. Now, upon careful examination, the rock exhibited organic molecules and small magnetite particles, which could be found in some Earth bacteria. Further analysis using electron microscopy led researchers to claim the presence of nanobacteria. However, some experts argued that the particles were not as similar to those found in bacteria as initially thought, and that the organic molecules could have originated from Earth contaminants. In addition, a study in 2003 demonstrated that crystal formations resembling nanobacteria could be created in a laboratory through chemical processes. So further research and analysis definitely are needed to reach a more conclusive understanding of this. The evidence at number 3 is the MRO. So NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, or MRO, has provided compelling evidence suggesting the presence of liquid water on present-day Mars. By utilizing an imaging spectrometer, researchers have identified hydrated minerals in areas where enigmatic streaks are observed on the Martian surface. These dark streaks exhibit a periodic pattern, appearing to flow down steep slopes during warm seasons and receding during cooler periods. The phenomena, known as recurring slope linea, or RSL, are frequently associated with temperatures above -10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is -23 degrees Celsius. Now, the findings have sparked speculation about the potential ability that life existed on Mars, or at least could exist on Mars. In the number 2 spot, this evidence is UFO sightings. Okay, well, it is true that the majority of reported UFO sightings can be explained as misidentifications or natural phenomena or people just seeing things, right? But the idea of UFO sightings has been so prominent throughout history. These cases continue to puzzle even the most rational individuals. One intriguing aspect is the consistency found in many personal accounts, suggesting that some of these claims may have some truth to them. While many people believe in the existence of extraterrestrial life, they may not necessarily believe in a specific UFO sighting. However, if these sightings were indeed genuine, it would signify that we are not alone and that there does exist a more advanced civilization beyond our own. Ending off at the number 1 spot, we have Roswell and Area 51. In 1947, a highly debated incident occurred near Roswell, New Mexico in the United States, where an object crashed at a ranch. Now, while the government initially claimed it to be a weather balloon, numerous witnesses reported seeing pieces of the supposed spacecraft and alien bodies being recovered. While these claims are subject to skepticism, it is worth noting that in 2012, a retired CIA agent named Chase Brandon stated that the object did not come from this planet. Now, the incident has fueled theories about the existence of extraterrestrial life and has contributed to the fascination surrounding Area 51. Some conspiracy theorists speculate that it houses remnants of the Roswell craft and its occupants.
Starting off with number 10, we got the Tikalosh. Tikulosh, I don't really know exactly how to pronounce this. It's kind of a hard thing to find online how to pronounce it. I wish I had some South African friends right next door that I could just ask. Pretty much, this is your basic form of a gremlin, but the South African version. Originating from Zulu mythology, this creature basically comes from a shaman who sends it out to cause sickness or even death on an individual. And they also call this creature a water spirit, but according to mythology, the only way to prevent this thing from coming into your room and getting you is to put bricks under the supports of your bed. Apparently, the Tikalosh doesn't like bricks. I don't blame him. I'm more of a mahogany sort of guy. You know, I like wood. Not that kind of wood. Now, the reason this whole creature was created was to give reason of why people fell asleep and died. Basically, I guess they didn't think that a heart attack would actually come into play or something like that. But other than that, this creature's been noted in many different forms of songs and even stories that come from South Africa. And according to history, there's been some stories of some women being attacked by these little hairy beasts that also have big penises. Maybe they're just living out a weird fantasy. That's what I'm thinking. Number 9, you got the Groot slang. Basically one of my favorite ones on this list. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. On this list, there's going to be a lot of snake-themed monsters. The Groot slang monster is said to have home in the caves of Richterveld in South Africa. Old mythology states that this creature is as old as the world itself, and it is like one big, powerful snake that the gods made. One of the problems was when God or the gods, I'm not really sure if there was a plural there, made this creature, they realized that, whoops, it was a little bit of a mistake. So what they did from there, they pretty much split the creature into 2 different animals, and thus you get the elephant and the snake. As a matter of fact, this creature got a lot of attention back in 1917 when an Englishman named Peter Grayson went looking for treasure. Apparently he was attacked by lions, but a lot of the locals said, nah, he was attacked by a Groot slang. Yeah. Number 8, the Ninki Nenka. Kinda sounds more like an ethnic slur if you ask me. I really hope it doesn't. A little bit different from the monsters on this list. I'm not sure how terrifying this one actually is, but it is your typical monster. Although it originated in Western Africa, there are some stories of it being seen down in South Africa. And basically, it is your classic dragon, and you can't have scary monsters without the good old-fashioned famous dragon. As a matter of fact, it's one of the more recent spottings of all the creatures on this list, because in 2006, some people said they saw it in Gambia. The expedition that was looking for this specific creature said that it was anywhere between 30 to 50 feet. And on top of that, this expedition claimed to have found and obtained a scale from the creature. The problem is, when they found the whole thing, they realized that, well, it was actually just a celluloid film. Probably celluloid film from the camera that they were going to take that typical blurry shot from. Number 7, Mamlambo. It's just got the coolest name of them all. Basically, another form of giant snake, but this one's just a little bit different. It is also known to the Zulu as the goddess of the rivers. This creature got a huge boost in popularity in 1997 when people said that they spotted it near Mount Aleph. People stated that it was 67 feet long and it had the head of a horse. As a matter of fact, some of these other snakes that I will list apparently also had the head of a horse. It seemed to be a very common thing within mythological snake monsters in South Africa. On top of that, it had the neck of a snake and the body of a fish and little tiny legs. Don't ask me what that even looks like, but apparently at night it also glowed green. Apparently he's Mr. Burns from The Simpsons and he's just glowing, glowing, glowing all night long. Also in 1997 at a village near where this thing was seen, it said that 9 people died and it was because of this creature. On top of that, according to the myth, it's apparently a brain-sucking creature. So it gets right in there and it sucks your brains out. It's not a zombie, it's just the brain-eating son of a gun. And of course, for that one, people went looking for this creature, but to date, there's been absolutely no evidence of this thing actually existing. By the way, guys, before I continue in this video, I just want to let you know that this is kind of new content for us, doing like scary mythological creatures and stuff from countries. So if you're liking this and you want more content around this, just hit that like button so I know. Yeah. Number 6, the lightning bird. Now, this one's real interesting. This creature came about probably out of confusion that people thought the hammer-cobbed bird was in fact the lightning bird. Originating in South Africa, a lot of tribes that were either close to Zulu or Pondo believed in this creature. Basically, it was a bird that was the size of a person and fed on your blood. And people believed back in the day that the fat within the bird could just help this thing get powers to explode into flame and cause lightning bolts to strike on its victims. That's got a lot of cool powers. Like, sorry, all you Pokemon out there, eat your heart out. This thing is way better. Of course, there's a lot of confusion about what this creature actually was. Some people are saying, yeah, it's just a vampire because apparently it turned into a human being when it sucked on the blood of people. And then when it sucked on the blood of birds, it turned into a bird. So, you know, it's also a shapeshifter, apparently. As a matter of fact, some people believe in this so much that in 2005, this is kind of a bit of a sad story, that a 2-year-old boy was killed because a man thought he was a lightning bird. Or a lightning bird, I should say. Number 5, the Kolomodulo. This has got to be one of the biggest creatures on this list because he ate everything. Or she, it could be a she. Short one here, but apparently this was one of the first creations when the world started way back in the day. Story is that this giant creature ate all the animals in the world and all the people of the Basuto tribe, except for one woman. She apparently gave birth to her son Kanada, who apparently returned back to the village and was like, yo, where did everybody go? And she was like, this monster just ate everybody. And Kanada, being enraged, decided to get revenge, and he was pointed to the direction which looked like a giant mountain because he was that big and fat from eating everybody. And smart Kanada maneuvered around him and split open his belly, killing the creature, and of course freeing everybody, all the animals, and the people to repopulate the earth. So we can all blame Kanada for the overpopulation issues that we have today. Kanada, you done wrong. Number 4, the Ikinyamba. I think that's how you pronounce it, but either way, it is a snake that has got one ugly face. I mean, you thought my face was just, no, this is like, yeah, my head on a snake. Now, it's been said to have been spotted at Howick Falls in South Africa, and previous to other ones, some people say that this creature's got the head of a horse. I mean, it doesn't really look like a horse to me. It looks like sheer terror. As a matter of fact, there have been even paintings on caves of these monsters in the KwaZulu-Natal area. And sometimes they're called rain animals because they were only seen during the times of great terrible storms. That or they were the cause of these storms. It's never quite 100% what people believed. And it's funny, even in 1998, this creature was blamed for a really bad storm within South Africa. There's of course a photo of this creature that suggests this creature exists. But many people say it's what you call an Anguilla marmorata, which is a freshwater eel that can be at least 6 feet in length. Number 3, the Alaba. This is, okay, it's not a scary one, guys, but I just wanted to throw this one in. It's South Africa's version of a unicorn. Okay? Okay, it's not actually really a unicorn. It's the closest thing. It's apparently got, 2 horns on the side of its head, and apparently Alaba is another word for rhinoceros. Okay, I know you guys are getting all mad because you're like, yo, it's 10 scary mythological monsters from South Africa. Let's just be real. Okay, the real title should have been, it's 9. plus 1 unicorn. Okay? All right? We good? Number 2, an original one on this list for monsters, and that is the Oumuamua. I think that's how you pronounce it. Basically, it's a tree that kills. This creature was made popular after a report on November 2nd, 1882 by Reverend G.W. Parker. He described this thing as a somewhat dead-looking tree that had, you know, kind of greenish leaves around it, but the weird part was it had skulls, skeletons, and all that sort of stuff around its base. Not gonna lie, I wouldn't think it was a tree. I would think it's just a sacrificial point, and I'd be like, I'm getting out of here. Apparently, this tree was very, very poisonous. I mean, even in a minor setting, it would give you either a headache or bloody eyes. This tree, however, administered its poison through the gas and air around it. And it's also said that the soil immediately around it was completely lethal, so if people went to chop the tree down, it would kill you. And that's why there's skeletons around it. Yay! It's like a moat of skeletons, you know, to keep the animals away, so they don't eat their nuts. According to mythology, the Zulu people also sacrificed goats to the Oumuamua tree, so, you know, the tree wouldn't be so mad, because that makes a lot of sense. However, though, this is probably all debunked because, I mean, it's been over 100 years since this thing was first reported, and nobody's seen a thing like that since. And number 1, probably my most favorite one, is the mermaids of the Karoo. This one goes way back. As a matter of fact, it's commonly believed that the Karoo at one point was, you know, underwater, and that's why there were mermaids that were in the area. And this myth goes so far back that in the Klein Karoo region, there were rock paintings of people with fishtails. As well, in 1975, there was a farmer in Mullins River who said that he saw this creature. It lived beneath the waters. And what makes this one dangerous, I mean, mermaids are supposed to be all pretty and all that. Well, apparently they lure people in, snatch them, and bring them down to a watery grave. Don't ask me why people are believing that there are mermaids in the Karoo region, which is like basically the driest region of South Africa. Maybe it's just to remind people that water is very, very precious. I don't know.
A second hurts really bad in the face of eternity, but only for a moment.
So starting at number 10, we have vampires. Though their portrayals will vary across culture, there are a few things that remain the same. Vampires feed on the living to remain immortal. They also hate sunlight, so they try to avoid that as much as possible. And they got these really sharp teeth, of course, to feed on their victims' blood. Now, often a metaphor for the dangers of sexual desire, vampires have become a staple in pop culture for over 100 years. Vampires also got a huge push in popularity with Bram Stoker's novel Dracula.
He will live through the centuries to come, as I have lived.
Demons come in at number 9. So check this out, guys. The term demon comes from the Greek word daimon, meaning deity or lesser spirit. Now, demons were fallen angels who followed Lucifer from the time that he was cast out of heaven by God. And demons are usually associated with evil, but in pre-Christian and non-Christian cultures, demons actually were not necessarily good or evil. They were kind of like neutral. Then again, there could be good demons and bad demons, not just evil. Now, demons can also take on the form of humans, like in the case of an incubus, for example, which is a demon in the shape of a human male for the purpose of literally just committing sexual acts. Or there's also the succubus, which is the female version of the incubus.
Me and Daddy.
No way.
Number 8, we have werewolf. So the werewolf is a mythological animal type creature, and it's a subject of many stories throughout the world. And werewolves are, according to some legends, people who morph into these terrifying yet powerful wolf creatures. Others are half human and half wolf, but all are just bloodthirsty beasts who can't control their desire to destroy people and animals. Now, in many werewolf stories, a person only turns into a werewolf when there's a full moon, and that theory may actually have some kind of truth to it, because according to a study conducted by Australia's Calvary Mater Newcastle Hospital, a full moon actually brings out the beasts inside of humans, and they actually notice a spike in crime rate when there's a full moon. Now let's look at elves. An elf is a type of human-like supernatural being in Germanic mythology and folklore. In medieval Germanic-speaking cultures, elves were seen generally to have been beings that had supernatural and magic powers, as well as they were beautiful. They were capable of either causing mischief and hindering humans in whatever they were trying to do, or they could actually support humans in doing what they have to do. In some depictions, elves are luminous beings said to be more beautiful than the sun, and humans and elves can actually inbreed and produce a half-human, half-elf. Humans can also apparently become elves after they die, and there was a considerable overlap between the worship of human ancestors and the worship of elves back in the day.
To rise above the height of all your fathers since the days of Elendil.
Next up, we have the Hellhound. The Hellhound is a dog of hell found in mythology, folklore, and fiction. Hellhounds typically have features such as being bigger than other types of hounds, as well as black fur, glowing red eyes, super strength or speed, as well as ghostly or phantom characteristics. They can like disappear, appear. And sometimes they even have the ability to talk. They're often assigned to guard the entrance of the world of the dead or undertake duties related to the afterlife or the supernatural, such as hunting down lost souls or guarding supernatural treasures. As a legend goes, if a person happens to see a hellhound 3 times, he or she will die an abrupt and unseen death. Halfway in, we have trolls at number 5. Trolls in early Scandinavian folklore are giant beings, sometimes having magic powers, and they're very hostile towards people, and trolls lived in castles as well as haunted various places at nighttime. If exposed to sunlight, they burst or turn to stone. Now in later works, trolls often were human-sized or even smaller beings, similar to dwarves or elves, and they lived in mountains or under bridges. And trolls in modern tales for stories also lived under bridges, and they would bother travelers in various different ways.
Ariel, listen to me. The human world, it's a mess.
Mermaids come in at number 4. Now mermaid, as well as the masculine term merman, they're marine creatures with the head and upper body of a human being and the tail of a fish. In European folklore, mermaids, sometimes called sirens, and mermen were beings who, like fairies, had magical and prophetic powers. They loved music and they often sang, and though they could live a very long time, they were mortal and they actually had no souls. Though sometimes they were kind, mermaids and mermen were often very dangerous to people. And to see one while you were on a ship voyage means that, well, you're gonna get shipwrecked real soon. They were often up to no good. They would sometimes lure people to death by drowning. So if you saw one at the sea, don't look. Just look away. Cover your ears. Chupacabra comes in number 3. So these chupacabras in Latin American pop culture, they're a monstrous creature that attacks animals and consumes their blood. Now the name is derived from the Spanish word chupar, meaning to suck, and cabra, meaning goat. And the chupacabra only recently joined vampires as blood-sucking creatures. Now chupacabras were first reported in 1995. Of course, vampires go way back before then. And when the first reports of chupacabras came out in 1995 in Puerto Rico, they were blamed for attacks on goats, sheep, as well as other domestic animals, supposedly leaving uneaten carcasses that were drained of blood. Now early reports described a creature that stood upright and resembled a large reptilian kangaroo with huge red eyes. But no actual specimens of chupacabras were ever found, and skeptics suggest that people who say that they've seen these chupacabras were probably just influenced by sci-fi movies.
When they stumbled across that alleged creature of the night, called it hairless with a long snout, short front legs, and long back legs.
Now let's talk about dragons. Now dragons are among the most popular and enduring of the world's mythological and supernatural creatures. Dragons' tales are known in many cultures from Americas to Europe, to India, China, you name it. And they have a long and rich history in many forms and continue to populate books, films, TV shows. Now, it's not clear when or where these stories of dragons first emerged, but the huge flying serpents were described at least as early as the age of the ancient Greeks and Sumerians. For much of the history of dragons, they're thought as being like any other mythological animal, sometimes useful in protecting humans, or sometimes could prove very deadly, and they could breathe fire too. Scary creatures sometimes. And finally, number one, we have zombies. So the zombie are undead creatures that are frequently featured in works of horror, fiction, and film. Now, while its roots may possibly be traced back to the zombie of the Haitian voodoo religion, the modern fictional zombies was largely developed by the works of American filmmaker George A. Romero. Now, zombies may be created in a variety of ways, like early depictions showed drawings from Haitian voodoo, and they often represented witchcraft as a means for reviving corpses. Now, Haitian zombies are said to be created by evil priests or sorcerers to do their bidding. Now, methods of zombification have developed in fiction, including radiation exposure. And especially one big theme in pop culture right now is the zombie apocalypse. Zombies are often depicted as these weird, half-dead looking creatures that infect people by biting them or scratching them. Then they spread their zombie genes, so that person now becomes a zombie.
Which leads me to my second rule.